Welcome to ComfortTV.channel news, bringing you verified and balanced news from Nigeria and around the world. My name is Faith Kevin. Thank you for joining us again. In the headlines, President Tinubu departs Abuja for Rome for Security Summit. HURIWA questions President Tinubu's motive in appointing new INEC Chairman. Dr. Ono urges President Tinubu to reverse pardon for Mariam Sanda. Minister of Marine reaffirms Nigeria's leadership role in strengthening port state control. Fresh questions trail Minister Nnaji's resignation. 4 Nigerians remanded in Ghana for alleged house burglaries. On business news, Nigeria strengthens ties with Flutterwave to advance digital economy. Stanbic IBTC empowers stakeholders with economic roadmap for 2026. On the foreign scene, Pakistan shorts border crossings with Afghanistan after cross-border clashes. Millions in Haiti face acute hunger epidemic as armed groups tighten control. And on sports, Nigeria and Benin Republic suffer key player absences ahead of crucial World Cup qualifier in Uyo. Gerald rules out returning to coach Rangers. Now the news. President Bola Tinubu has departed Abuja on Sunday for Rome to attend the Akaba Process Heads of State and Government meeting focused on West Africa's security crisis. This was announced in a statement by presidential spokesperson Mr. Bayo Onanuga. The high-level summit begins on Tuesday, bringing together African leaders, top intelligence and military officials, and representatives of key intergovernmental and non-governmental organizations. The Akaba process, initiated by Jordan King's Abdullahi II in 2015, is a global counter-terrorism platform co-chaired by Jordan and the Italian government. It addresses the complex security challenges in West Africa, especially the rise and spread of terrorist networks across the region. Discussions will cover the growing link between land-based terror groups in the Sahel and maritime piracy in the Gulf of Guinea. Participation will share intelligence assessment and explore stronger regional and international collaboration to tackle cross-border threats. The summit will also focus on developing joint strategies to fight terrorism on land and at sea. Another key agenda is countering online radicalization and dismantling digital channels used for extremist propaganda and recruitment. President Tinubu will also engage in bilateral talks with fellow leaders on improving security coordination across the sub-region. The Nigerian leader will be accompanied by Minister of State for Foreign Affairs Bianca Odumegu Ojukwu and Minister of Defense Badaru Abubakar. Also on the delegation, a National Security Advisor Nuhu Ribadu and NIA Director General Mohammed alongside other senior government officials. The Human Rights Writers Association of Nigeria, HURIWA, has raised concerns over President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's appointment of Professor Joash Ojo Amupitan San as the new chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC), alleging that the move is politically motivated and aimed at influencing the 2027 general elections. In a statement issued in Abuja, HURIWA said the appointment of Professor Amupitan, a senior law scholar from Kogi State, signaled what it described as an attempt by the president to consolidate control over the nation's electoral process. According to the group, intelligence available to it suggested that the new INEC chair was selected not primarily for competence but for loyalty. HURIWA expressed concern that the appointment could undermine the credibility of future elections unless the Electoral Act is urgently amended to make the use of the Bimodal Voter Accreditation System (BVAS) and INEC result viewing portal IREV mandatory and enforceable by law. The association recalled that the 2023 presidential election was marred by what it described as irregularities, while other polls, particularly the National Assembly elections, were relatively credible due to the effective use of electronic accreditation and results transmission. HURIWA also linked the recent waves of defection by opposition politicians to the ruling All Progressives Congress (APC) to what it termed the weaponization of state institutions. HURIWA called on the National Assembly to prioritize electoral reforms that would strengthen INEC's independence and ensure technological transparency in future elections. It urged Professor Amupitan to demonstrate impartiality and accountability in his role, adding that Nigerians and the international community would be watching closely to see whether he would uphold the Commission's integrity or serve partisan interests. President Bola Tinubu's spokesman in the Southeast, Dr. Joseph Ono, has called on the President to reconsider and reverse the recent pardons granted to some convicts, including Mariam Sanda and certain drug offenders. President Tinubu had last week approved the recommendations of the Presidential Advisory Committee on the prerogative of mercy, granting clemency to 175 individuals, among them drug convicts, foreigners, and capital offenders, such as Mariam Sanda, who was sentenced to death in 2020 for the murder of her husband, Bilyaminu Bello, during a domestic dispute. However, Dr. Ono described the decision as morally wrong and a rape of justice, arguing that it could damage the administration's international image and undermine the country's justice system. According to him, granting pardon to offenders such as Nweke Francis Chibueze, serving a life sentence for cocaine trafficking, and Isaac Justina, convicted for cannabis possession, represents a profound ethical and institutional rupture that demands immediate ratification. He maintained that pardoning Sanda, who caused irreversible loss to Bello's family through an act of lethal violence, undermines the value of human life and accountability. Dr. Ono further argued that extending clemency to convicted drug traffickers sends a dangerous signal to society. The presidential aide warned that such decisions could tarnish Nigeria's image globally and erode the country's credibility with international partners such as the UN Office on Drugs and Crime (UNODC). He also cautioned that the move could demoralize Nigeria's security agencies, including the NDLEA and the police, whose personnel risked their lives to ensure the conviction. The resignation of Chief Uche Geoffrey Nnaji, Minister of Innovation, Science and Technology, has reopened long-standing concerns about Nigeria's vetting process for public officials. The development follows an investigation which revealed that the University of Nigeria, Nsukka UNN, and the National Youth Service Corps NYSC disowned the academic and service certificates Nnaji submitted for his ministerial screening. Executive Director of the Rule of Law and Accountability Advocacy Center, RULAC, Mr. Okechukwu Nwaguma, said the allegations against Nnaji were huge. He argued that resignation, while morally appropriate, is legally insufficient. According to him, the failure of the Department of State Service DSS, the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation SGF, and the Senate to detect the discrepancies during screening amounts to dereliction of duty. Forensic expert and criminal intelligence specialist Mr. Alfred Ononuwo said the episode is a product of political interference that has long corrupted Nigeria's public institutions. He noted that the situation is worsened by a culture of patronage that values loyalty over competence. Mr. Ononuwo also questioned the credibility of Nigeria's security intelligence architecture, describing it as a shadow of what it used to be. He cautioned that while the minister's resignation might appear as an act of integrity, it could also be tactical. This recent case is not an isolated occurrence. Over the years, several Nigerian politicians have faced similar allegations of certificate forgery, a pattern that underscores the country's long-standing crisis of integrity in public office. In 1999, Salisu Buhari, then Speaker of the House of Representatives, resigned after it was revealed that he forged a University of Toronto degree. Former Finance Minister Kemi Adeosun also stepped down in 2018 when it emerged that the NYSC exemption certificate was fake. In the years that followed, figures such as Senator Ademola Adeleke, now governor of Osun State, was accused of falsifying secondary school records, while Enugu State Governor Peter Mbah faced controversy after the NYSC disowned the discharge certificate he submitted. Nigeria has reiterated its commitment to regional maritime cooperation and stronger port state control mechanisms as part of efforts to enhance maritime safety and environmental protection across Western, Central, Central Africa. Minister of Marine and Blue Economy Adegboyega Oyetola CON made this known while addressing the Third Bureau of Ministers meeting of the Abuja Memorandum of Understanding in Conakry, Republic of Guinea. He commended Guinea for successfully hosting the 15 Port State Control Committee meeting, noting that the deliberations offered critical insights into improving maritime safety standards across member states. A key highlight of his remark was the recent approval of the National Policy on Marine and Blue Economy by the Federal Council, which provides a comprehensive framework for sustainable maritime operations. The minister also called on member states to support the institutional resilience of the Abuja MOU Secretariat, meet financial obligations, and strengthen enforcement mechanisms. He further solicited continental support for Nigeria's candidature in the forthcoming International Maritime Organization Council elections under Category C, saying it would amplify Africa's collective voice in global maritime governance. The Minister's Special Advisor on Media and Communications, Dr. Bolaji Akinola, said the move reinforces Nigeria's image as a responsible maritime nation committed to regional progress. 4 Nigerian nationals have been arraigned before the Accra Circuit Court for allegedly breaking into residential apartments of Batsuna, a suburb of Accra, and stealing valuables including cash, electronics, and a piggy bank known locally as Susu Box. The accused, Moses Chinedu Ogochukwu Onyeka Obumneke Nebo and Wisdom Ogochukwu, face 7 counts bordering on conspiracy to steal, unlawful entry, causing unlawful damage, and stealing. According to the prosecution led by Sergeant Priscilla Avoga, the 4 allegedly conspired to burgle several homes in the area, making away with items such as mobile phones, laptops, flat-screen televisions, and cash. The suspect was said to have gained access to the apartment by breaking doors and windows, often striking when occupants were away. The stolen items include a HP laptop, Samsung SC Lite, Samsung A32 and A33 phones, 2 JBL Bluetooth speakers, 2 JBL headsets, and a gold-colored Rolex watch, amongst other items. Their actions came to light after residents reported a string of break-ins, prompting an investigation that led to their arrest. Police say some of the stolen items were later retrieved from the accused persons. They have been remanded into police custody to reappear at a later date as investigations continue. ComfortTV.channel news returns shortly with business, foreign, and sports. Many thanks for staying tuned. This is ComfortTV.channel. On business, the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edun, met with Flutterwave Technology Solutions Limited and the Ministry of Finance Incorporated, MOFE, to explore a potential strategic partnership. Director Information and Public Relations Mohammed Manga, who made this known, noted that Flutterwave, Africa's foremost fintech, showcased how its cross-border payment infrastructure is powering trade, financial access, and entrepreneurship across more than 30 countries. Minister Edu commended the company's role in driving innovation and reaffirmed the federal government's commitment to investments that expand financial inclusion, empower small businesses, and position Nigeria at the center of Africa's digital transformation. The meeting concluded with agreement on a clear roadmap for collaboration. Once finalized, the partnership will not only strengthen Nigeria's digital economy, but also reinforce private sector confidence in the country's innovation landscape. Still on business, Stanbic IBTC Bank has taken a significant step in empowering stakeholders by hosting a strategic client forum focused on Nigeria's economic trajectory. The event, themed Beyond the Numbers, Unpacking Nigeria's Economic Trajectory 2025 and Beyond, brought together key stakeholders to discuss the country's economic future and the role of financial institutions in driving growth. The Global Market Forum featured expert presentations that highlighted the significance of macroeconomic analysis and market intelligence in navigating Nigeria's economic landscape. Attendees were provided with insightful perspectives on current trends and future projections, enabling them to make informed strategic decisions in a dynamic environment. Executive Director, Corporate and Transaction Banking Stanbic IBTC Bank, Eric Fajemisin, expressed the bank's commitment to enabling clients and partners to make informed choices. Head Global Market Nigeria Stanbic IBTC Bank, Dari Otitoju, highlighted the bank's focus on evolving beyond traditional financing solutions. On the foreign scene, Pakistan has closed 2 key borders crossings with Afghanistan following heavy exchanges of fire between security forces of both countries, heightening tensions along the volatile frontier. According to Pakistani officials, Afghan troops opened fire late Saturday on several Pakistani border posts in the Kuram tribal district. The Afghan Ministry of Defense claimed responsibility for the attack, saying it was a retaliatory response to Pakistani airstrikes carried out earlier in the week inside Afghan territory. Witnesses and local residents reported that the cross-border shelling and gunfire, which began late at night, largely subsided by Sunday morning. However, intermittent gunfire continued through the day, spreading panic among border communities and prompting several families to flee to safer areas. In response to the hostilities, Pakistani temporarily shut down 2 main border crossings with Afghanistan, Torkam in the northwest and Chaman in the southwest, halting the movement of people and goods between the 2 countries. The closures are expected to disrupt trade and travel as these crossings serve as vital lifelines for landlocked Afghanistan's economy. Authorities on both sides have not released any official figures regarding casualties or damage. However, the renewed clashes underscores the fragile state of relations between Islamabad and Kabul, which have been strained in recent months over security concerns and allegations of cross-border militant activity. Still on the foreign scene, the United Nations has highlighted how millions of Haitians face severe food insecurity as armed groups continue to expand their territorial control around the country. According to the latest Integrated Food Security Phase Classification (IPC) report, the data says 5.7 million people, over half the population, are now classified in crisis or worse, marking one of the deepest humanitarian crises in the Western Hemisphere. Of these, 1.9 million Haitians are suffering emergency-level hunger, with large food gaps, acute malnutrition, and excess mortality risk. An additional 3.8 million people face crisis conditions, often forced to deplete what little they have just to survive. IPC warns that the situation could deteriorate further by mid-2026 when the lean season begins, projecting that 5.9 million people, 53% of the population, will face acute food insecurity. Thousands of people now reside in overcrowded temporary sites that lack basic amenities such as sanitation, clean water, and medical care. Cholera risks are rising while reports of sexual violence, trauma, and severe hunger multiply. On sports, the race for qualification to the 2026 FIFA World Cup heats up. Both Nigeria and Benin Republic will be missing key players in their decisive Group C clash set for Uyo Akwa Ibom State. Benin Republic's head coach Janet Raw has confirmed that 2 of his key men, Sase de Almeida and Johan Roch, will be unavailable for selection after receiving their second yellow cards in the Cheetahs' narrow 1-0 victory over Rwanda on Friday. Coach Raw expressed disappointment over the suspensions but remained optimistic about his team's chances against his former employers, Nigeria. Meanwhile, the Super Eagles will also be without one of their standout players, Ademola Lookman, who picked up a second yellow card during Nigeria's 2-1 win over Lesotho on Friday. Super Eagles head coach Eric Chelle has, however, played down the impact of Lookman's absence, insisting that his team remains focused and ready for the challenge. Coach Chelle added that Lookman will still play a supportive role off the pitch, encouraging his teammates as they aim for qualification. Nigeria currently sits third in Group C behind Benin Republic and South Africa, making Tuesday's encounter in Uyo a must-win if the Super Eagles are to keep their World Cup hopes alive. Still on sports, former Liverpool midfielder Steven Gerrard has ruled himself out of contention to return for a second stint as manager of struggling Rangers. The 45-year-old has been set up as the front-runner to replace the sacked Russell Martin at the Scottish Premiership club. But it is understood that after holding constructive discussions, the ex-England midfielder felt the timing was not right for a return to Ibrox. Gerrard was previously in charge at Rangers between 2018 and 2021, winning the Scottish title in the 2020-2021 season before leaving to take charge at Aston Villa. He left his role in charge of Saudi Arabian side Al Ettifaq in January. Other names to have been touted as potential successors to Martin at Ibrox include Hearts boss Derek McInnes, former Rangers player Kevin Muscat, and ex-Everton boss Sean Dyche. And that's our news bulletin today. Before we go, here is a recap of our top stories. President Tinubu departs Abuja for Rome for Security Summit. HURIWA questions President Tinubu's motive in appointing new INEC Chairman. Dr. Honor urges President Tinubu to reverse pardon for Miriam Sanda. Minister of Maritime reaffirms Nigeria's leadership role in strengthening post-state control. On business, Nigerians strengthen ties with Flutterwave to advance digital economy. On the foreign scene, Pakistan shorts border crossing with Afghanistan after cross-border clashes. And on sports, Nigeria and Benin Republic suffer key player absences ahead of crucial World Cup qualifier in Uyo. Thank you for watching. For breaking news, exclusive interviews and more, follow us online at ComfortTV.channel on all platforms. Remember to like and share our videos, subscribe to our channel and click on the notification bell so you don't miss out on any updates. My name is Faith Kevin. Until next time, stay informed, stay connected.